Hi you guys. So in this series of videos, and I'll make a few, we're gonna do a blow-through turbo on a Nissan A1400. I've been wanting to do that again for a very long time. I used to build quite a few turbo motors back in the day, but I haven't done it. And since this is a carburetor channel, I thought I'm not gonna do fuel injection. I'll do blow-through carb, and I'll show that it works and it can work reliable. But to do that, I've dotted some stuff down on paper so that I can remember. To do that, you obviously need your turbocharger. You need a turbo manifold for it. You're going to need an oil feed, the turbo that I've got, and I'll show you. It's got a oil feed, obviously, in return to the sump, and then it's got a water feed as well to cool it down. And then obviously you're going to need a boost gauge to see how much boost you're going to boost. Otherwise, you're going to pop your motor. On the carburetor, I've managed to get hold of a DRLA Turbo Delorto, which is a very cool carb. I'll show you that in a sec. But obviously you're going to need a boost pan on top. I've got one. You're going to need a fuel regulator to get the fuel pressure 3 pounds higher than the boost pressure. You're obviously going to need a fuel pump for that, and then you're going to need, I'm going to install air fuel mixture ratio gauge, and I'll show you how that works. Then obviously all of that is fine. You can't just bolt that onto an engine because the compression is too high. So we'll go through the whole process of how we calculate compression ratio and modifications I'm going to do to my engine. I'm using an A15 block for that to lower the compression, specials, pistons and bits and pieces. We'll get through all of that. I'm also going to modify the oil pump, so I'll show you how I modify the oil pump with the L16 oil pump to give it not more pressure but more volume, because now we're going to take flow from your oil supply to feed the turbocharger, and obviously you're not going to have enough oil pressure and flow for the engine, so we're going to have to do that. And then lastly, but not least, is actually two more things, is heat. The turbocharger develops a massive amount of heat, so we're going to have to get rid of that heat somehow. We'll do that through an intercooler to help with that. We might have to go bigger on the radiator. We'll see how that goes. I've got a heat gauge in my van, so we'll see what that does. And then we're going to have to also get cool air into the turbocharger, but we'll go through all of that. But now I'm going to show you guys all the bits and pieces that I've collected so far. So here's some bits and pieces. Here's my Delorto 36 Delorto carby. It is a turbo carb. We're going to play with a bit of jetting with it. There's the carby top, the boost pan that goes on top. Here's my turbocharger. It's from a Ford WL 2.5. From the turbocharger, we'll blow through the intercooler, through the boost pan on top, into the carby. To monitor the boost, to see how much we're boosting, there's the boost gauge. To know that the fuel air mixture here is correct, we've got this air fuel mixture gauge. I'll go through all of that on how we connect it up and how we do all the wiring and everything. And then obviously to control the boost, I'm going to remove this. I'm not interested in that. I'm going to put that blower valve, that poppet valve, whatever you want to call it. And that's the basics of what I'm going to do and what I'm going to put in my van. So this is the manifold that I've had made. You guys can contact me. I'll give you the guys' details. It's quite a nice manifold. Turbo is going to bolt on here, and then obviously the exhaust will be going out that way. And then just downstream from it, probably 6 or 8 inches down, we'll put the reference gauge for the fuel air mixture gauge. This is going to be in the way. I'll have to cut this short and a whole lot of other things, but I'll explain that in detail once we doing it. The engine that I'm going to build is over there. I'll show you that in a sec. This is I'm just going to use this engine just for a mock-up to make sure we place everything in the correct spaces and everything fits. So this is probably going to be my biggest challenge, believe it or not. The carby that I bought came from a 3-way Toyota, and it came with this lovely manifold. But unfortunately it doesn't fit to my engine, and because of this angle, because of that angle, the carby is going to be too high, my bonnet won't close. So I'll have to modify this manifold. As you can see, the original carb sits at an angle. So what I've done is I've had this plate made, which I'm gonna cut this out. Then I'm gonna weld a aluminium pipe in between, and then I'm gonna recess that into that aluminium pipe, and then weld it on, obviously, and then cut the holes for where the carby bolts on. So I'm basically gonna make a manifold for my carby. But I'll show you guys, not in too much detail, because you might not use a carb like this. You might use a single-sided after whatever. So on the engine side, we obviously have to drop the compression. So I'll have to cut pockets into these pistons to get the compression ratio sweet. But I've also had a cam cut. This is a normal 276 cam. We've just opened the degrees. Camtech did it for me. There we go. And yeah, it's gonna work a treat. So it's a bit of a race cam, just with a V's opened between the journals, so that there's less overlap. But yes, we'll get to all of those bits. So on my conversion, I'm going to be using an electric fuel pump. I've already actually have one installed in my van. I did it quite a long time ago, and I'm sorry I didn't make a video on it, but I'll make a video on that bit. Just to show you where to connect it in and where I've installed the pump and all of that. So that pump that I've got in there, I don't think it's going to give me enough pressure. I'm planning to boost maybe a bar, maybe 1.2 bar, so I don't think that pump's going to do it. And then obviously that's got to be wired in and worked and everything, and through a filter, and you've got to have a return line back to the fuel tank, but we'll cover all of that. And then I've got this that I purchased. I used these exact same brand and type back in the day on the other conversions that I did. So this is adjustable, and with this you can get your fuel pressure exactly 3 pounds higher than what you're boosting. So obviously I'm going to have two gauges. One is obviously the boost gauge, and the other one is going to be a fuel gauge to make sure that my fuel pressure is a little higher, 3 pounds, than what I'm boosting. Anyway, we'll get to all those details. We'll also have to play with timing, because a boosted engine doesn't like too much timing, and so we'll have to limit the distributor on how much it advances. I've used a lock distributor in the past, but then sometimes you struggle to start. So I don't want to do that. It's got to be a normal rideable vehicle. Get in, start it up, get it down, and then when the guy pulls in next to you and he wants to go fast, then you go fast. Or if you want to go to the drag strip, you turn up your boost and you go to the drag strip. So we're gonna play a bit with the distributor, limit the amount of advance that it does. We'll still have a vacuum advance on it, but we'll go through all those details. It's actually very simple. We'll go through all those details. So a lot of turbo conversions fail because they didn't get the compression ratio right, or they boosted too much, and or they don't have the compression ratio right, they boost too much, and they're running too lean. So the most important thing on any turbo conversion, no matter what car, is to make sure that you get your carburation right, whether it's a carburetor or a fuel injection system. So that's got to be spot on. And what I usually do is I run, if you can, you can't always, is to run your vehicle, whatever you're going to build. I'm going to build this little A15, is to run your carburetor on a close to standard engine, and make sure that it runs sweet, and maybe a little bit on the rich side for what you actually need. That way, you know your carby is spot on. It's going to idle beautiful. There's no flat spot. It's going to run. It's going to pull, make power right through pull lekker through the rev limit. And then once you add boost to it, now you know your carby is right, but you need to now just add extra fuel for however much you're going to boost. And then that's sort of the easy part of it. But we'll go into details with the carburetor in the next video. Be safe.